Hi, on this channel I travel all over Europe and I explore creepy abandoned buildings. And today I managed to explore an abandoned railroad yard and I ran into the most spooky stuff there, so keep watching.
Everybody on the fake shit, I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant, I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day.
How did it all start this time? I got into contact with a man from Germany. He told me there was this abandoned railroad yard where the railroad company had stored and maintained their trains, but it was now closed for more than 25 years. And the location came with quite a few remarks and warnings, because this railroad yard was flooded with junkies, drunks, and crazy people. He warned me that this abandoned railroad yard was one of the filthiest and most polluted places one could imagine. The place was also very dangerous because of all the holes in the ground. I should beware of criminal gangs who were looting the place from everything that represented any value. Well, that was encouraging. Nonetheless, it was time for me to catch a plane. So, having said all of this, join me on my adventure to the abandoned railroad yard. Let's go.
I took a flight to Berlin, settled in my hotel, and then the next day I got up very early in the morning so that I could enter the abandoned railway station at about 7 o'clock in the morning. That way, chances are that the local druggies and homeless people were still asleep. I won't bother them, they won't bother me. It keeps amazing me how easily I can walk into these pretty dangerous abandoned facilities in Germany. No fences, no cameras, no warning signs, no security. It's a guaranteed recipe for this place to be looted and vandalized, causing it to decay even more quickly. And maybe that is exactly what the owners of a place like this and the authorities want, because the more decayed and dilapidated this place is, the easier it will be to arrange the permits for knocking down the whole place and start building fancy apartments that make a lot of money. That is how stuff works in this world. It's really awkward to even discuss this, but as it appears, people were actually defecating all over the terrain. There was a horrible stench of human excrement everywhere. It was inside the buildings and outside. There was no escaping from it. It makes you wonder what kind of life the people have who are roaming around or even living here. Nobody uses a place like this as their daily bathroom for fun. The people who do that have no other place to go. Another worrying thing were the large quantities of rubble and materials that look like asbestos and all kinds of chemical waste that are freely dumped here with impunity. There was so much of that kind of waste on this terrain that apparently criminals can dump their garbage here without facing the consequences. And as it appears, they've been doing this for many years. It's disgusting and probably a hazard to public health and an environmental disaster. It's astonishing that such a wonderful and rich country like Germany cannot prevent stuff like this from happening. I decided to take a look into one of the main buildings, and despite the desperate state the building was in, it was clearly visible that this once was a grand and impressive piece of architecture. Once the German railroads were a glorious industry. They provided the backbone for Germany's industrial revolution that turned the European mainland into a global economic powerhouse. But that time had come and gone. In this place there was very little left of that glorious past. And it's really sad to see how many of these formerly glorious railroad buildings have been neglected for decades and are now rotting away beyond repair. The downfall of these buildings creates a very spooky and haunted atmosphere, not for the faint at heart. You can hear an eerie wind blow through the buildings, and sometimes doors are creaking. And the problem is that you're never sure if you are alone in these abandoned buildings. Sometimes I really saw something moving, or I heard some inexplicable sound, and then usually it's quiet again for a while. Although I couldn't spot a living soul in this building, it felt as if there were people there, and I felt like being watched. Then I remembered a creepy story that one of the locals told me earlier, and because of that story I wanted to check out some specific buildings. The story is that this railroad station once experienced an accident with a train which involved a group of schoolchildren who were having a party at the station. Some of the locals say that because of the accident, this station is haunted. And I'm not into that kind of stuff. I can only pass on to you what one of the locals told me. So this supposedly was the room where the group of children waited for the train just before the accident happened. It's a very spooky place, so I decided to move on. In one of the other buildings, I realized that so many of the rooms in these buildings had been set on fire. What kind of people do that? I suppose that even the junkies and the homeless people who call this place their home, they don't set their own shelters on fire. The ones who do set these buildings on fire are those whose souls are even more lost. I then entered this pretty weird situation. I discovered some old garage that still contained a car rack that must have been there for decades. Maybe the car was left behind by one of the employees of the railroad company. There was another large building with a lot of holes in the ground, so again I had to be careful. All the walls were covered with graffiti, but the graffiti didn't appear to be fresh. The graffiti was applied a long time ago. It looked as even the graffiti artists had turned their back on this place. Look, this is the kind of stuff that can kill you. If you were to decide to explore an abandoned place like this, you just need to be very, very careful. This is what is left of the railroad turntable. The building in the background was a depot for locomotives. The engine operator could then drive the locomotive onto the turntable, and the turntable would slowly rotate in order to point the locomotive into the desired direction, so that it could enter a specific railroad track. So, okay, at this point I'm still good. But this is where it all became a bit more creepy. I decided to go back to the main building, the building that gave me the feeling that I was being watched. I thought it was the most impressive and beautiful building in this facility, so I wanted to see it one more time before I left. And I had been roaming around a bit in that building when I heard a giggling sound. Yes, I heard a girl or a woman giggling in the distance. And then I saw something. It's crazy. In the distance, I saw what appeared to be a girl or a woman holding a set of balloons on a wire. It was in the distance, but it looked very spooky. Of course, I wanted to put this on video, but I pushed the wrong button, so I took pictures instead of video. So, look, here are my pictures. I know they are very out of focus, they are very grainy, but they are not CGI, and I didn't pay this woman to do this. I didn't approach her, I have no idea who she is. When I noticed that I didn't shoot any video of her, I reset my camera and pushed the actual record button. But then she was gone. No more giggling, no more balloons. She wasn't there anymore. Now, think of this what you will. I think this was some kind of photo shoot, maybe for a magazine or a wedding, but I never saw any photographer or assistants. I just saw the girl with the balloons, so I took some pictures of her, and then she seemed to vanish. That is what I saw. So kinda spooky, so that gave me the feeling that it was time to go. But then it got kind of from bad to worse, because I took a wrong turn and I ended up in a building where I had no business of being. When exploring abandoned places, I usually try to avoid the people who actually live in these places, but to my shock, I was now in the middle of what seemed to be someone's bathroom. There was a corner full of human excrement, which I will not show you, and they had been hanging their laundry to dry. As you can see, I now could even hear their voices upstairs. They spoke German, but I could understand them because I speak German. And there was a man saying something like, "Warte mal, sei ruhig, ich glaube, dass da ist." So that means, wait, be quiet, I think he's here. They were talking about me, so probably I had been right all the time. I was being watched. They saw me before I saw them. So it was time to get out, which I did as quickly as possible. I just want to explore these abandoned places. I think it's very exciting and interesting, but I want to leave people alone and not cause them or myself any trouble. So that is what I did. I left. But I was very pleased with all the interesting and remarkable and spooky stuff that I saw and had put on camera. I hope you liked it as well. On another note, I am pushing 60 now, so I'm not going to explore these abandoned places like every week. I need to take my age and my physical condition into consideration. I seem to be a healthy guy, but there's no need to push things too far. So next time I might be making a video from the comfort of my own home studio, or in a nice warm car, or from a cute Dutch town. Hope you will like that as well. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.